Welcome to Epic Begins with One Step Forward, the podcast that reveals how to plan, achieve, and enjoy the journey of creating epic results in your life, business, health, and relationships. Here's your host, best-selling author and motivational speaker, Zander Sprague.
So welcome to the show. I'm here with Zander Sprague. I'm Aurora Winter, and today we are going to be talking about epic unexpected. This is part 2 because it's such a big topic, but such a useful one to understand, because when unexpected things happen to you, whether it's the coronavirus pandemic or a bankruptcy, a divorce, a layoff, a child with special needs, or your parent has got Alzheimer's, how you respond can mean the difference between your life going downhill or just a deep breath and then carry on, and who knows, perhaps even improving. We're going to share some surprising and shocking myths about recovery and some things that'll encourage you. And of course, Zander, as usual, will be sharing some insights into what it's like to launch as a thought leader, speaker, and author during a pandemic. So Zander, fill us in. What's happened with you the last week? This is week number 5 in your full court press of following your dreams, no matter what's happening in the outside world.
Yeah, it's been an exciting week, Aurora. So taking a page out of your book or taking your encouragement, I'm trying to read more. And so I started to read You Are a Badass.
Great book.
And that's by Jen
Sincero.
Yeah. And really enjoying her humor and how she writes and drinking that Kool-Aid, which is really good. I'm also listening to now I'm totally going to space on the name, but
it'll come to you. Becoming Supernatural, Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Yes, that's it. And so I'm listening to that. I was driving and I was trying to listen to it in the car, but I found that's not actually the optimal place for me to listen to it because my brain is engaged in driving. So I can't passively listen to what he's saying because it's really important. And he goes, and refer to figure 2.5. And I can't look at that right now, but I'm enjoying that. But I'm just trying to expand on my journey of taking in information. The other thing that's like super exciting is I've been reaching out to some people that I know that I want to do some epic episodes with. I've got, there'll be some more epic unexpected. I've reached out to a friend of mine who's a psychiatrist. I'm gonna talk to her. She's busy right now putting together some programming she has for NPR. So when she's done with that, mid-September, I'll talk to her and hopefully get something in the can.
Next step NPR, that's not bad.
No, it's not. And then I've reached out to another mentor of mine. I'm waiting to hear back. Just putting it out there saying, okay, who do I want to talk to? And then next Tuesday, I'm actually, not so that everyone thinks that everything epic has to do with death and stuff. I'm talking to my really good friend, Warren Pearson, who is a naturalist and safari guide in Africa. And so we're going to talk about epic in Africa and just how incredibly epic.
That's doubly epic.
the African continent is and how epic safaring is and what it can mean. So I'm really excited to just be expanding out and reaching out to my network and creating content for everyone. And I hope everyone will find it interesting.
I love how you're just like every week you're doing so much more, and so a body in motion continues in motion, and you're having more ideas and you're reaching out to people, and that's a lot of progress for 1 week. I love those 2 books that you mentioned. What resonated with you from those books relating to our topic for today, the epic unexpected?
I think from Becoming Supernatural, the idea that our bodies, our genes we get habituated to doing something and feeling a particular way. And if we just literally think about not being that way, think about if you're feeling pessimistic about stuff, if you just took 10 minutes and thought optimistically about stuff. He was talking about how he did this in a workshop. And by the end of the weekend, the shift that people had, just spending 5 minutes having some positive thinking, really changed literally their chemical.
Yeah, they measured it all biochemically. I love that book, The Natural by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
When you get the rest of the way through the book, he also shares some miraculous healings that happened from people who doctors had said you're going to be dead in 3 months. And they meditated, changed their outlook on life, got support, and fully healed. And then 3 years later, they're still alive and doing better than ever. So that's good, because sometimes epic unexpected is that you're going in the wrong direction. Like maybe you can avert disaster.
Absolutely.
And what about Jen Sincero's book, You Are a Badass? Because that, when she was facing, she said she got exhausted being broke all the time. And she
I just into the 3rd chapter on that one, but I'm just really, I don't know, it resonates with me, this whole idea that we dream of greatness, yet we're not living in our greatness, and that the universe truly has a infinite number of possibilities and gifts and stuff. We simply have to be open to it. And I've been thinking a lot about that.
More than just open, she decided, that's it, I'm not going to be broke anymore. And you decided 5 weeks ago, you decided, that's it, I'm going for my dreams no matter what. I'm going to be unstoppable. Just watch me. You made a decision. It wasn't just a wish.
And even though, as I sit here right now, I have no idea how I'm going to make this financially pay off for me in the way that I know that it can, I'm not letting that negative talk bother me. I'm figuring it out, and that's okay. It is an epic adventure. Every adventure, there's the good parts and the not so good parts. And there's I have no idea where I'm going or how I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to keep going.
But you're in action, and the how questions cannot be answered sitting by your computer by yourself, Googling stuff. How questions get answered when you're in action. Like, who knows, maybe you'll interview your friend who's also on, did you say NPR? And maybe that'll lead to something that you just don't know. But if you're in your mind trying to figure out everything that could go wrong, you can come up with a very long list. But when you're in action, miracles happen. That sounds like a very good week. Were there any drawbacks you wanted to share so others could avoid some detours?
I think just the self-doubt that always creeps in. I can clearly see what I want, but how are you going to do that? There are always I came up with something a couple of years ago, actually, when I was doing I don't know whether, I think it was, I was doing Grief Coach Academy with you. And I had this quote up on my mirror for like years, honestly. And it's, how do I ? You already are. And I think that's really, for me, a really powerful thing of, we do get caught up with how am I going to do this? You were talking about your 100K in 100 days.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have those moments where you're like, how am I going to do that? Yeah. You just start to do it, and then it will fall into place. You'll figure it out. So I think for me in the last week, I'm really jazzed about being open to new ways of thinking and doing and being. But you also always have that old curmudgeon who's, it's not going to work. And just telling them, I like to call it the committee that's in your head.
Yeah.
And I talked a couple of weeks ago how the meanest person in our life is ourselves. And so I'm not listening to the mean people. You don't get a voice.
Yeah, they keep us small. I love this mindset piece that you're bringing in today. I watched half of the Matrix movie last night because I'm just really leaning into it's all about mindset.
Yeah.
You know, it's meditating that Dr. Joe Dispenza has re-inspired me to do, or whether it's you're a badass, like we are our own worst enemies. We trip
Oh my
ourselves.
God.
We play
Terrible.
small. And I think God's got a much bigger plan for each person, especially you. All right, so let's wrap up the update part. And kudos, that's a lot of progress in 5 weeks. Plus, you've done 5 episodes here and you edited them, so your book is on its way. Plus, I'm so excited to tell you a bunch of social media marketing plans I have for you, but that'll be a little bit later.
Okay.
I know we always have more to talk about, although that may interest others as well. So let's talk about epic unexpected. And we did cover that last episode, and there was so much more to say. So just a quick recap. Unfortunately experienced the sudden murder of his sister completely unexpectedly. I also had a sudden unexpected with the death of my husband when he was 33 and our son was 4. So we come to the table with personal experience, but also Zander has got professional insights, as I do, because it's been a number of decades we've been first overcoming our own setbacks and then learning how to help ourselves and help others. So Zander, Epic Unexpected Part 2.
I know that there are lots of people, because of the pandemic and everything, obviously a lot of people have lost their jobs. And sometimes I certainly know there were times where I could see the writing on the wall, understood what was going on with the company, and that there was a chance I could end up losing my job. However, something like this, all of a sudden, everything's fine with the company. People can't come into work. You can't sell your product. Company has to downsize, and you lost your job. And that is obviously always a very mentally and physically like just hard thing. I got thinking about that this week, and I was like, okay, what can I say about like job loss? Because I certainly have lost my job a few times. And I think the first thing is take some time and do something fun for yourself, okay? Don't go wild, because you don't have a job and finances could be an issue, but do something for yourself, because I think now is the most important time to take care of you and nurture yourself and do something that will make you feel good, happy, right?
Not make wise choices when you're having a freak out. And so the most important thing is to get calm and happy if you can, but at least peaceful. I totally agree with that.
And then I've done this is assess what it was that you liked about your job and what you didn't like about your job. What are the things about it? Because if you view the fact that you lost your job as a fresh opportunity for yourself, who knows what's going to open up? I think all too often we are creatures of habit. I'm doing this job and then I'll get this promotion and I'll try and do this. And I've already spent 5 years in this company, so I got to keep going and stuff. And we get stuck where we like patterns, right? Yeah. Our body we get comfortable with the known. The unknown is scary. Change is scary. Yeah. Take the time to look at what you want to do next and be honest. And I read, and I was trying to find the source, but I couldn't, because it was one of those sort of what I call the nebulous. It is a truthful statement, but who exactly said it is always hard to track down. But, huh?
Attribute it to you, because you're going to say it right now.
Exactly, which is for recent college grads, they're going to have 5 careers in their life.
At least. The speed of change is rapidly.
And I look at I look at what I did. I look at what you did, Aurora, and we've done these diverse things. Yeah. I was a quality assurance engineer, a software developer, really bad at those 2 things, by the way. And I was a technical trainer. I'm a speaker and author, mental health provider. I've done all of these things. And I think part of my ability to do that is to say, it doesn't matter what numbers attached to my age, I can change what I'm doing.
Yeah. And I think as people are looking at what's next, reconnect with what did you love to do as a child? What did you do? What makes your heart happy? Because probably people have been for many years doing something on autopilot-ish, but now's an opportunity for a fresh slate. So reconnect with things that fill you with joy. Like notice when you're energized, notice when you're filled with enthusiasm. That's Zander's energy. He's always enthusiastic. And notice when you feel depleted or exhausted. You want to avoid things in that category, but don't too quickly try to problem solve. Like first look for what fuels you. What are you curious about? What are you interested about? Because that can be.
And what patterns do you notice about your last job or jobs? What patterns do you notice? I tended to go for a company that had lots of type A personalities and I'm type B. So maybe that's not where I need to be.
So it's not your tribe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that's happening here as we sit here in pandemic week 30 or whatever it is, relationships are ending. It's unfortunate. Sometimes if you're living with someone, all of this together time doesn't always turn out to be the best thing.
You got something to tell me? I hope not, because
No, I don't have anything. No, everything is good with me. But I'm just saying, if you're
well, no, you're exactly right. And that can compound the stress because if people have lost their job, they've lost their certainty, they've lost their routine, they've lost the people they see at work, they've lost their revenue. And if they've been at home,
they've lost their identity,
they lose
part of how they see themselves. Yeah. And then I'll quote my mother. She was married to my father for 52 years. And she said, I married him for better, for worse, but not for lunch.
Not for lunch?
Not for lunch. Meaning,
great.
It's awesome. I love that quote.
Yeah, I love that.
I was like, that there's together time and then there's together time. Right. And I know from having talked to some people that there's been when we were all quarantined, that was really challenging for some couples.
Yeah.
Not that they didn't have a strong relationship, but there was space in there. And all of a sudden there isn't that space. So you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am so bothered by the fact that Aurora doesn't put the dishes in the dishwasher. It's driving me up the wall, or,
by the fact you don't put the cap back on the toothpaste.
So relationships, I think, can take, sometimes all the together time is great because you've both been so busy doing stuff. Now you have time to reconnect. But other times it's just too much. And frankly, we all have more time on our hands to think about our relationships or lack thereof than we've ever had.
I want to just jump in here. I want to hear what you have to say, but I think the default setting is usually people think, how can I get a relationship, or how can I get a job, or how can I whatever.
Yeah.
I'd love people to take a step back and go, what makes me happy in relationships? What makes me happy in a job, or what makes me happy in a career? Unlike Zander, I cannot speak to the job front too much because I've only had a job a couple of times. Mostly I've been unemployed my whole life as an entrepreneur and happy to be one. But what I do want to add to this is I think that almost everybody now realizes that jobs are just the illusion of security. There is no security. Even like thinking that, oh, you're young and you're going to live 20 more years or 50 more years. Who knows? We don't have anything for certain. So that's why I love being an entrepreneur and encourage people to consider following some dreams that they've had. Why not now? Zander is showing the way.
Absolutely. And I think, look, when a relationship ends, it hurts a lot. And
what would you recommend people do?
I've got two things. One, look at the positives about that you can take away from this relationship? What are those good things? Because as I said, and I'll keep hammering it, 97-3 rule. 97% of it was probably good. Up to 3% wasn't so good. If all you do is focus on the 3%, it looks like that relationship was a disaster. Look, it may have been, but I think we don't stay in a relationship if it's an absolute crap show. We don't.
So important to remember about everything. We tend to focus on whatever's missing.
And be honest with yourself about what you would like to change about yourself, about how you are in relationship. And that's always hard because we want to see ourselves as the heroes, as the always, I was a good person, they were bad. But no, it takes two people to make a relationship, and each of you has responsibilities for things that you may have said or done, and you look back and say, I don't really like it when I act this way. So what can I do in the future to try and change the way I'm reacting to that? And you may need to go find a qualified mental health person or a coach to help you figure out what's behind this. Why?
Exactly right. Because people can't really sort things out in their head, no matter how smart they are. It just goes around in a big circle. It's better to talk it out loud with somebody. Even right now, you're talking out loud your book and your content, and it's easier to get clarity. I wanted to add some good news and some bad news about Epic Unexpected, but I don't want to interrupt your relationship.
Well, that was really, that's what I had about just.
Yeah, so these are all really good points. First, you advise people to tune in so they can become happy or at least peaceful, especially before they make any radical decisions. Notice what makes them happy or not, and then start considering just lightly what could be possibly next. And I would suggest, hey, why not start a business? If you don't have a job, might as well create a book or start doing something that you can do yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had some good tips about when relationships end and to always look for the good things. But I also really liked your question about how do we want to change? Bad news first and then good news. So the bad news about being and wanting to change is that we can be addicted. It's actually like a chemical addiction. I'm using that word deliberately and literally, to drama and to upset and to toxic relationships. And so notice if you notice any addictive patterns, because if you get really charged, that's releasing a bunch of chemicals in your body, and your body can actually be addicted to that. And I'll confess, I have been looking at that in my own life. This is day number 3 of a fast, because I noticed, confessions here, that I was like, I could not stop. I would be good at eating all day until 8 p.m. And then if there was ice cream in the fridge, I would not take a delicate scoop. And I know I had to eat.
No demi-tasse spoon of ice cream?
No,
yeah.
I would eat the whole thing. However much there was left, it was gone. I'm like, that's addictive behavior, or I think you're addicted to sugar. So now you're going to fast for a few days.
Yeah.
And it's easy for me to fast, and I feel better already. But look for addictive patterns, because it can happen with relationships also. And maybe like Zander, like you were saying, there's an upset in the relationship, but what part of you wanted that upset or triggered that upset or caused it? Anything to say about that before I change the topic to some good news about Epic Unexpected?
No, I think you're absolutely right. Pay attention to those things that are the self-destructive, the self-medicating, all of that. Again, most of what Aurora and I are talking about is just self-awareness and honesty with yourself. Kudos to you for noticing that the ice cream was in the house and that you were eating it. I have found the hard way that the best way for me not to be tempted by the ice cream is simply not to buy the ice cream. and I will chastise you for one moment or and say, the ice cream ended up in your house because when you were in the store, someone bought it. I don't believe the ice cream fairy came in and ping, put it in there.
Right. Now that I noticed that behavior, because it didn't just happen once, I'm ashamed to confess, but I'll, normalize it for anybody else who might have done the same, is I'm like, that's addictive behavior. I cannot have ice cream in the house, at least not now. I need to, I think.
Yeah. And like, obviously anything in moderation, but if you sit there and say, I'm choosing to have ice cream, maybe you get just a single serve cup so that when you plow your way through it, you're not like.
Good tip. Thank you. I remember reading Stephen King's memoir. I think it's just called On Writing. It's an excellent book. If you're a writer, I recommend it. And he struggled with addictions at some point. And I think he went to a therapist or something and to talk about how much alcohol he drank. And the therapist, I think it was a therapist, maybe it was a coach or a friend, said, how much are you drinking? And he's like, all of it. I'm like, what do you mean all of it? He's like, however much there's in the house, it's all gone.
Yeah.
All. Whether it's 2 cases of beer and like hard liquor, whatever. So
yeah.
Okay. So that was a good clue. And then there was an intervention. I think he's clean now, but certainly thing for a period. And I stopped drinking because I need to be creative. And apparently I have to stop sugar too, at least for a while. So here's the good news. So most people in my experience, and of course I want to hear Zander's experience and thoughts, but most people think that after something horrific has happened, that they are broken and damaged. At least that's how I felt after my husband died suddenly when he was And I thought the best I could hope for was I could maybe super glue the broken pieces of my life back together. So if you were like far enough away, you wouldn't notice that I was damaged goods. And I think most people set the bar at, could they get back to where they were before? And I thought that way for many years. So I was really fascinated to read Dr. Martin Seligman's report. He had 1,700 people fill out a survey on his website. He's the past president of the American Psychological Association. And he was asking questions about thriving because he was writing his book about thriving at that time and he was doing research. So he asked them, how are you thriving in your health, in your finances, in your relationships at work, your relationships at home, your relationship with spirit, etc. And then as a PS, he said, oh, PS, by the way, how many of you have experienced any one of these epic, unexpected disasters, one would say? And they were really horrific things, like being a prisoner of war, being held up at gunpoint, being raped, life-threatening illness, the death of a close family member. So even more traumatic than what Zander and I experienced. Maybe not Zander, that's terrible, but experienced the murder of your sister. Anyway, the results came back and they were really quite interested in the thriving. And they weren't studying post-traumatic growth or anything, but they noticed that, people who had one of these horrific events that likely would have triggered PTSD self-reported as being higher in thriving than people who had none. People who had 2 traumatic events self-reported as being higher again. And 3 occurrences, 3 devastating for most people occurrences of the epic unexpected resulted in those people self-reporting as higher in thriving in other areas, their career, their relationships, their finances, their health. So he's, I don't know, are these people delusional? And he sent his research assistants to interview the people and talk to their families and their coworkers. And if they were, a member of a church, talk to those people. And they discovered that no, these people were not delusional and that they actually were thriving higher than the people who didn't have an epic unexpected event.
Yeah.
And I think this is very important for us to know that there's an opportunity, whatever may be happening in your life. If you're listening now, maybe the coronavirus and unemployment. If you're listening years from now, it may be something else, but there is an opportunity to, rather than go in a downward spiral, to go in an upward spiral of deliberately creating a life that's more meaningful and purposeful. Because that's my best guess of what happened to these people as they, went forward to their deathbed and they realized all the regrets they were going to have if they kept on living the same way. And then they adjusted course, and a little 3%, 5% adjustment made a massive difference years or decades later. So course correcting, like you were mentioning earlier, Zander, this is the opportunity to lean into when you're facing the epic unexpected. And instead of just trying to recapture what you had before, why not be open to that it could be much better? And if, again, having a coach or a therapist or a good friend that can be one person to walk you through this can make a world of difference between downward spiral into despair and hopelessness and discouragement, or upward spiral into following Zander's path of enthusiasm and action taking in faith and confidence. So I just wanted to share that, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, Zander.
I think that's all really true. I know personally these epic unexpected events are opportunities to look at it. And I guess part of it is I don't have a choice. I got to move forward. My life is still going on. Whether I participate today or not, my life is still going on. And life, by the way, is a participatory sport. And it is so much better when we actually are participating in our life.
I love that. Life is a participatory sport. That's great soundbite.
Exactly. I think it's true. I'll tell this quick little story, which was years ago, I owned a motorcycle and I went with my friends from San Francisco and we went up to Mendocino, rode up to Mendocino, spent the night, and we were riding back. And they were riding faster than me. I was pulling up the back, and I was going around a corner, and I just felt like I wasn't going to make it. So I just straightened my bike up, and I went straight and into some sand, and I was going really slow, and I just basically bailed off my bike. So I fell off my bike, but I was totally fine. Then a friend of mine came back to check on me because I hadn't showed up at a checkpoint. And he's riding with me. And I bailed off my bike. But this time I fell off my bike. And everyone's, oh my God, are you okay? And I'm like, I was fine. I wasn't. It was the only thing that was really hurt was my ego. But I'm like, all right, I'm getting on my bike and I'm driving home. And a friend of mine's like, how can you do that? And I'm like, how else am I going to get home? It sucks. I don't really want to be on the motorcycle. It was starting to rain and I'm like, and it's going to suck, but I'm getting on the bike because I don't have a choice. I think that's very emblematic of when I lost Lucy. I had to go on.
Yeah.
I didn't have another choice.
And who would want to stay stuck in that purgatory of grief?
Well, absolutely. And then
many people try it. They don't take down the photos or remake the person's room, and their whole life turns into a shrine.
It does. And look, it isn't easy. We had Lucy's stuff in a storage unit for a decade.
Been there, done that.
There we are every month paying that thing. And we're like, oh, my mom's, yeah, we got to go deal with that. And then when my parents were moving, we finally had to go over and deal with the storage locker and stuff. But enough time had gone by that it wasn't as raw. And it turned out that the stuff that we originally thought, oh, we need to hold on to that, 10 years later, we're like, why the hell did we hold on to that?
It's like when my husband died, I had to tell myself, he's not this t-shirt, he's not this thing, but
right.
It gets attached. I had one client who was dealing with devastating loss. It was from being fired, and he was paying $1,500 a month on storage, and he wasn't thinking, or from my point of view, wasn't thinking. He allowed himself to get evicted from his apartment that was only about $1,500 a month, like $1,750.
Yeah.
Because he didn't realize, or he didn't think through, oh, I could stop paying $1,500 a month on storage and keep my apartment. Like, his thinking was not clear. And that happens when people are very stressed, right? Or grieving or upset.
Absolutely. And that sort of brings me to another point that I wanted to make sure I brought up. I think we can all agree that here we are almost into September, 9 months into 2020, and 2020 sucks. Okay. There's this great meme. I don't know. I wish I could pull it up, but it was, you probably saw it because it was going around, which was, if 2020 were a scented candle and it's a row of outhouses on fire. And it's so perfect. I was like, oh my God, that is so funny. Look, it's challenging. They're on so many levels. There's just so much challenge going on. Never mind the pandemic. There's unemployment. There's all kinds of racial tension and like awareness of Black Lives Matter and all lives matter and
lightning and firestorms.
Right. And there's, yes, exactly. There's natural disasters. There's a presidential election, which is unprecedented, and all of this. I know that people are spinning out, and I wanted to encourage people to use some cognitive behavioral therapy. So when you start to spin out and it just seems like the walls are coming in, and you start to believe the voices, honestly, just say, stop. What proof do I have that this thought is true? If it's, this person doesn't like me, I'm a ice cream hoarding pig, I'm self-loathing, whatever it is, right? Stop and say, what facts do I have that support that thought being true? And here's the thing, Aurora. I've done this. And oftentimes you might come up with maybe one thing. I don't want to hammer on your ice cream eating, but it's right there. So like, I'm eating uncontrollably. What facts do I have that's true? I keep bringing ice cream into the house. Okay, yes, that is true. But it doesn't make a out of control food addict or something like that.
It is important to, I would say, never ask a question that you don't want the answer to. So
well,
I think it's good to ask.
We're not lawyers, so don't. But my point is, I think oftentimes we have this thing, oh, this person doesn't like me, or my boss hates me, or my...
How do you even know that's true?
And then you go, but what proof do I have? Did they come up and go, by the way, you're a horrible, terrible, no good, terrible person? No, they actually didn't. You don't actually have the proof. If you don't have the proof, then you dismiss it. And there's so many things in our life that someone says, oh, Aurora, it's raining out. All right, what proof do I have? The sun is out and there's not a cloud in the sky. Now you dismiss the fact that I told you that it's raining, and you move on with your day.
Exactly, good example. But we don't often dispute our own thoughts. We take them as gospel, and they're not, and neither is the gospel.
Exactly. So in this time where there's some heavy spin, and frankly, we have a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
And although thinking is fabulous, and I'm not saying don't do it, sometimes we get ourselves in trouble because we go down the rabbit hole. So when you find yourself going down the rabbit hole, literally say out loud, stop. What proof do I have that is true? And I honestly,
That's
don't think you're going to find, if any, much proof that thought is actually true.
Yeah, I think that's so important. The quality of our questions determines the quality of our life. So it's very important to ask high quality questions. Like you mentioned earlier, that I'm giving myself this 100K in 100 days ongoing challenge. Did it for the first 100 days. So we'll see about the next ones. But it's so good I'm asking myself, okay, how can I generate 100K in 100 days? And it's leading to higher and higher quality questions. Like how can I generate $1 million worth of value for my clients? How can I generate $10 million worth of value in the world? How can I help 1 million people? Like it's forcing me or inviting me, challenging me to ask better and better questions. Whereas if I ask myself, how long do I have before I can't pay my rent? I would get the answer to that too, but my mind would go, yeah.
But I think just what you're talking about, you have lots of positive proof of success.
Exactly.
And success is contagious and it is addictive.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. I was able to do that. Let me see if I can do it again.
Or let me
If
see.
it's not going, if you're at day 80 and it's not going so well, but hey, I know I can do it. I have proof that I can do it.
I've done it before. Yeah.
Exactly. And so you're right. It's the quality of the questions. I think it's also opening your mind to all possibilities,
Mm.
that anything is possible, that I can't, I won't, I don't. There is,
Limits us far more than anything.
it does.
It's our own break.
And I do the Peloton cycle and have done it almost since it started, and I love it. And one of my favorite instructors, Christine D'Erico, she's oh my God, she's so spiritual, it's wonderful. But she has this mantra: I am, I can, I will, I do.
Mm.
And I have a T-shirt that says that, and I love that.
I love it too. I am, I can, I will, I do.
Exactly.
That's great. Put that in the back of your Epic T-shirts.
Well, I can't because it's not mine, it's hers. I'm
going to offer one resource where people can find more good questions to ask themselves. And then I'm going to ask 3 things that the listeners can do right away to help themselves.
Absolutely.
Unexpected. So one resource that I really love, I'm a big fan of Tim Ferriss and all of his books and his podcast. He did a TED Talk about fear setting, which I highly recommend. I forget which book he talks about it in as well. I think Tribe of Mentors, but all of his books are good to read. But his TED Talk is about, most people get caught up in goal setting, but you should also fear set. And when you really look at what's the worst possible thing that could happen, you know, you can travel around the world, or what's the worst possible thing that could happen if I hire this person and they don't work out. It's important to do that as well. And then most quote unquote mistakes are things that you will either learn something from, or it will work out even better than you anticipated, or it doesn't. But then what can you do to recover? And most missteps, so to speak, you can recover from. So I recommend watching his Tim Ferriss's TED Talk about fear setting. It'll give you a bunch of great questions that you can ask and lean into. And then you can go, oh, it's really not that big of a deal. Because most people just go, what if I lose my job and get evicted? But then they don't go, what would I do next? The things you would do next are quite sensible. You'd pick up the phone, you'd call a relative or a friend, you'd go stay with them. Maybe you decide to follow Tim Ferriss's inspiration and go off to Europe for a year. Maybe you'll follow Zander's path and decide to go, hey, life is a participatory sport and I'm going to follow my goals no matter what.
Exactly.
I am going to be a speaker. So what are some tips that you have for
So for this, I got thinking about it and I thought, all right, first of all, find your happy, okay? There's so much, you turn on the TV, there's literally fire, flood, and pestilence. It's terrible. Do something you've always wanted to do. Maybe you want to learn how to play the guitar, the ukulele. Maybe you're like, I've always wanted to do a drawing class. I want to do writing. There's so much content available in classes that you can take from your home, and we all got the time, so if it's not now, then when? So find something, find your happy. Go do something. Oh, I've always wanted to take a guitar lesson. You want to know what? There's great places like Musician where they literally have lessons and you can just sit there and play along and learn how to do it and go back and practice. And it's great. I want to really encourage people to make sure that you're exercising. Exercise is so important. It's been hard lately with all the smoke. Can't really even do stuff in my house. But I haven't let that stop me. I'm not necessarily so much cardio. Let me do some strength training. But exercise has so many benefits aside from strengthening our body and our mind. It is an antidepressant. It makes us feel better about ourselves. Maybe you haven't done much all day, but hey, I did do my half hour of yoga or whatever. And oh, by the way, if you don't know how to do something, there's 8 bazillion classes that you can take online to help lead you along. You're smiling because I'm right.
30 days of yoga with Adrian. That's my go-to. It's free.
Exactly.
Great.
And then the third one was reconnect with your friends. Even if you haven't talked to them in a while, they are your friends. And it is amazing what you can get out of your life from having people who know you in your life. So maybe it's that friend of yours from 2 jobs ago, but you were friends for a reason. Just because you haven't talked doesn't mean that you're not friends anymore. I do this all the time. I'll be on a long drive and I'm like, who haven't I talked to? And not while I'm driving, but I will think about, oh, I've got a 2-hour drive and I'll go and choose some people. I go through my contacts and go, who haven't I talked to? I want to talk to this person.
I remember you did that to me because we'd been out of touch for a little while. And most people like email me or they text me. Is it a good time to? But you just called. Oh my God, that's so cool.
Well, but it is amazing what happens when we reconnect with people who have been part of our life. And maybe it's just one phone call, and after half hour or 15 minutes, there isn't much to say, but hey, you reconnected. And you never know what that person's doing that may help you in what you're doing. We got the time. Let's reach out. We have video. We could see each other. It's not even a phone call. You could video call people.
Amen. Okay, so find your happy. I might be missing one. Is there one before exercise? And then
no, and that was it. And then just reconnect with your friends.
Yeah, so find your happy, exercise, and reconnect with your friends. And I would also add, see what you can eliminate. Maybe you too have a bad habit of going to the freezer for ice cream that, as Zander pointed out, should not be there. Okay, so in a minute, Zander's going to tell us what's coming up next time. And I want to just invite you to go to zandersprague.com. You can get a bunch of goodies there, including some epic sayings that you'll want to print out and put on your fridge or your mirror or have in your car. And you can also go to my website, thoughtleaderlaunch.com, and you can get your Thought Leader Starter Library there absolutely for free. And then when you sign up at zandersprague.com or thoughtleaderlaunch.com, we'll make sure to let you know when Zander's book is coming out and special offers about live streaming and live training and more bonuses that'll be coming out. So do be sure to give us your email so we can make sure that you get all the special deals that we've got cooked up and coming down the pipeline soon. So that's zandersprague.com or thoughtleaderlaunch.com. So what are we going to be talking about next, Zander?
In our next episode, Aurora, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I like it.
I love not yet.
Not yet. That is pretty cool. Yeah. All right. I won't say anything about that. I'll save it. And you and I have got to talk some more about the marketing plan for your book.
Yes.
May or may not be something that we share with everybody, depending on how useful it would be for other people. But I am so proud of you. In 5 weeks, you've done so much, and it seems like your tempo is increasing, like you're getting a rhythm. I remember 1 week where you're like, well, I didn't even find time to edit the videos. And last week, 5, you edited the videos, you reached out to people, you set up interviews, you brought great content to the show, and you're just beaming. So I really love it.
Having a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun too. It's great to support you in creating your book this way. This is like the fun way to create a book rather than staring at a blank.
Oh my God, so much better, let me tell you.
Absolutely. So wrapping this up, I'm Aurora Winter, and he is
Zander Sprague.
And we'll see you on the next show.
Have a good one.
Get your gift copy of the award-winning book, Epic Begins with One Step Forward, at epicbegins.com. That's a wrap on this episode of Epic Begins with One Step Forward with your host, Zander Sprague, best-selling author, internationally acclaimed public speaker, and licensed professional clinical counselor. To make your next conference or event epic, send an email to Zander at zander@epicbegins.com. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Remember, epic choices, epic life.